What's up, everybody? Welcome to Dad Journey. I'm John. This is Bryson.
Hey, hey.
We are going to talk about first trimester, how the wives felt, how we felt through the whole process. Bryson's going to kick it off. He's going to go first.
So, yeah, it's a pretty interesting story. I remember it pretty well. Yeah, it was in February of 2017 I found out. I remember the day. I remember it being late afternoon. The reason I remember these things is because I was doing some hardcore raiding on World of Warcraft. It's an online MMORPG video game. And it was kind of comical when I think back on it because, Samantha, my wife, she was obviously trying to get my attention for some reason.
Yeah.
And I didn't know exactly what was up or what was going on.
This can wait.
But I'm like, yeah, whatever you've got going on, just give me a second. I mean, I'm doing things. I got a guild here, and we're playing games and having a good time. And she was smiling and smirking and acting goofy. And then finally, she came in the room, and I'm sitting here in the middle of this raid playing with 25 people, and she looks at me all giggly, and she hands me something. And I realized that it's a pregnancy test and that it's positive, and completely my jaw just dropped to the floor.
That seems to be a common way to do it as well. So,
yeah.
I mean, my wife did that to me. So.
Okay, yeah. Playing World of Warcraft or just the pregnancy
No,
test?
I think I was sitting at my table drinking coffee or something like that. I was just exhausted and not really knowing what was going on. So.
Yeah. So she handed me this pregnancy test. Obviously, that got my attention. Became more important than what I was doing on the computer. So threw down the headset and I'll be back type of thing. And we were ecstatic. I was completely shocked though because we weren't being intentional about getting pregnant.
Yeah.
It's something that we had talked about having a baby, but we weren't planning it. Like we weren't checking calendars or making sure the moon's aligned with the Earth. There are different, things like that.
There are different apps for that.
So, we were just seeing what happened. If it happened, it happened type of thing. That was our mindset. And we had been on that for a while. I mean, she had been off birth control for a long time. And so, honestly, it went on for several months. And I'm just like, I'll have a baby when we have a baby type of thing.
Yeah.
No real reason for concern or anything like that. But found out, I was, elated. I was super, super excited. I mean, we were like, giggling and dancing and being silly. So we were both really, really excited. I mean, I'm in my mid-30s now, 34 years old, almost 35 in June. And so we were at a point where we knew that we wanted to have kids and we were comfortable with having kids. We had waited. So it wasn't any kind of bad news or anything like that. But I had the pregnancy test and it was a big moment. So definitely remember that day. I think the rest of my guildmates on World of Warcraft probably remember that day too. Cause
I didn't playing.
I did stop playing shortly after that. My priorities kind of changed a little bit, but also I didn't really mute my headset, so they probably heard all of the giggling and stuff. So I remember a couple people mentioning that to me, but that was how we found out. So you mentioned drinking some coffee.
I was, I just woken up. I don't remember the day now. But I just woken up, we were sitting there, made coffee, kind of our ritual together. Wife and I drink coffee, just kind of watch YouTubes or, YouTube videos or whatever. And I was sitting there scrolling on my phone, and the first video that we posted on this channel, actually, you can go back and watch this, my reactions in there. It's basically a reaction video of everybody in my family. I wanted to be able to save it, mainly so my child could go back and watch the reactions of all the family members. But sitting there, scrolling, and then I hear her walking up, and then the dog, you can actually hear him in the background clicking on the floor. But she walks up and shows me the same thing, pregnancy stick. And my reaction basically was just like, I just smiled, got up, and then, went to hug her. And when I went to hug her, she was recording me, and then she just stopped recording. So that's gone. Stopped recording, and then just hugged me, and we just sat there and hugged for quite a while.
Yeah.
It was definitely surreal. It was extremely, extremely happy feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you've touched on it before, how, it was almost like you didn't really believe it had happened. It took a couple days for it to kind of sink in.
Yep.
That's the same thing for me. I think that happens to a lot of people. You're like, okay, well, we're pregnant. And what's going to change, And then you kind of think about that something is going to change. Well, what is going to change? And I think that's the other half of what we're probably going to talk about today is, the dynamics between you and your wife, and me and my wife. What did change? What has happened between here and there?
Yeah. Yes, I mean, the first thing that came up for us in that first trimester, we knew that she was pregnant because of the pregnancy stick, but she really knew that she was pregnant when the morning sickness kicked in. I mean, that was one of the first things to come shortly after finding out that she was pregnant. Her appetite didn't change so much in the first trimester. Tiredness definitely kicked in.
Yeah.
I felt bad because she was still working full time. I was working full time. I wish that she could have not had to work. But that was just an unfortunate reality for our situation that we both continue working, and that ended up being really good for her in the long run because she really liked her job and loved her employees that she was working with, and that was a good network, a good support network for her. But she was tired when she got home. I mean, instead of going to bed at 9 or 10 o'clock, it would not be uncommon to catch her in bed around 5:30, 6 o'clock. I mean, and she could sleep. I mean, she's always been a good sleeper, but I mean, now she could sleep a lot more. So
I mean, Christy probably we stay up normally pretty late, like 10, 10:30, 11, something like that. Sometimes she's always kind of gravitated towards going to sleep earlier anyway.
Yeah.
But it's 7:38 and she's done.
Yeah.
And if by some miracle she stays up past that, she's laying down on the couch basically asleep anyway.
Yeah.
So she may as well be asleep.
Right.
And I understand that. Like I 100% understand it.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that kind of drove me to start this channel though was she's on this app that puts all these women that are pregnant together in their month.
Okay.
So like you're in your first trimester, third month. You're together with other people that are first trimester, third month. So you share your experiences together on this thing, and a lot of it ends up being guys that don't understand what's happening with their wives. They don't have any, either they don't care or they just don't know what's happening. Either way. So when I saw that, my wife would read me these comments and stuff like that, like my husband's upset because I don't do the dishes or whatever. All I want to do is sleep. When I get home, literally all I want to do is sleep. And I get it, I understand why. So I think I wanted to make this YouTube channel with you to kind of go over that. Like, that's totally normal, and maybe pass that information on. So
yeah, I mean, because that wasn't something, I wasn't really aware of what happens during the pregnancy. Like, I did buy a couple books off of Amazon. We'll put a link in description on the video that you can check out. They were kind of geared towards, I think, dads, because they're really technically drawn, and you could tell just kind of the language and the way they related the content. And so it was interesting and funny to read those books. But even that, I mean, it really didn't prepare me for like what kind of changes that she would be experiencing. All I could do is be reactive and kind of be the best supporter that I could be, as far as her going to bed early or trying to help with dinner or dishes or whatever. And she was doing a lot. I was surprised, actually, even with all of these things setting in. She still pretty consistently went and did the gym, and I think that was something else that kind of helped her out. I think it's it's hit or miss for people.
So speaking of that, actually, I know Chrissy likes to be active as well. Like she's got a Peloton bike that she really likes to ride, but the only time she feels like riding it is like at 11 o'clock in the morning, and she's at work. Yeah. So when she gets home from work, she feels terrible. Like, her morning sickness kicks in at 4 p.m.
Okay.
So it's not really morning. So 4 p.m. till bedtime, she's just like the worst feeling ever. She just wants to crawl into bed, and she's constantly like throwing up after food and stuff like that. She hasn't thrown up a ton. Like, I expected her to throw up every single day. Yeah. It didn't really happen that way. I mean, she's thrown up some, but it's mainly just that constant feeling of like just ugh.
Yeah. I think that was the same for Samantha.
Yeah.
I didn't really see her go throw up very often. I mean, she may have done it at work some, but and you're right about the morning sickness doesn't mean that you wake up in the morning and feel sick necessarily. It happens at different times throughout the day, and it's more of that kind of groggy, nausea, just don't feel good type of feeling. So but I mean, in addition to that, her food patterns didn't really change as much. I know you mentioned though that Christy,
she had aversions, like food aversions.
Yeah.
She really didn't want to eat anything at the very beginning. I think for the first month or so, all she could really eat was like baked potatoes and pasta and stuff. And we talked to the doctor about that, and the doctor said, that's totally fine as long as you eat right now.
Mm-hmm.
We'll figure out the food, as you go and try to get more balanced and better foods. Right now, you just need to make sure you eat. She hasn't really gained a whole lot of weight at this first trimester at all. I think maybe a pound or two.
Yeah.
And the doctor said that that's fine. It's the fact that, you're sicker during the first trimester. She said this is when you're going to really start to kind of see that take off a little bit, is that second trimester. And I know we've talked about this. We're going to try to make the videos kind of match up with my wife's progression through pregnancy, so that obviously I have something to talk about on these videos. So like this video, like I said, is first trimester.
Mm.
So, but yeah, I mean, it definitely food aversions. I know you said that your wife never had really any food aversions. She had cravings and stuff like that. Yeah. Normal. Chrissy really hasn't had any cravings.
Yeah, and I think that kicked in a lot in the second part of the third trimester. But there weren't any major food aversions or anything like that. What I did find out, and I mean, maybe Chrissy will experience this, I'm sure a lot of moms out there do, though, is that you really get a craving for something during the pregnancy, and after the pregnancy, that craving that you had just becomes something that you never want to see again. I think I want to say peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are something that Samantha ate a lot, like the frozen peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. She really liked those.
Oh, wow.
And now she won't go near one.
Touch them.
Unless it's for our son, Bastion. She doesn't want to have anything to do with it.
God, I hope that doesn't happen to Christy, something that she loves or something.
Yeah.
I'll find out how that goes after the birth, and we'll see.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so really the key takeaways around that first trimester from a husband, father perspective is just to kind of be responsive to your wife's changes. Hopefully this has been helpful and some of the things you may come to expect. And we can recommend a couple good books too.
Yeah.
I mean, really nothing's really going to fully prepare you. But I will say one thing that was, it was actually kind of expected after I saw the way that she was kind of having some of the morning sickness and some of the tiredness, was that her sex drive went down a little bit. Yeah, that's so that's something just to be prepared for. It may not be the same case for everybody.
It's pretty common, though. From everything that I've ever read, it's a very normal thing that happens, especially in that first trimester.
Yeah.
Mainly because you feel terrible.
Yeah.
So talk to your doctor about it. Yep. It's nothing to be worried about. I think that's one of the things that we were going to do on this podcast, or this this video cast, I guess is what we're going to call it. We want to make sure that guys understand the odds and ends. We want to be as brutally honest as possible, and really shoot it straight as much as possible.
Mm.
So thank you for bringing that up, because I completely forgot about that. So.
Yeah. And then the other thing, obviously, one of the biggest, I think, probably the biggest milestone, obviously, the first trimester, is hearing that heartbeat for the first time.
We literally just did that like 3 days ago.
Yeah. So what was your take on that?
It was amazing, honestly.
Yeah.
The sad thing for us, though, we had already seen the heartbeat. How they show it and you kind of get an idea.
Yeah.
We saw that in like the first ultrasound when it was like 8 weeks old,
mm-hmm.
but they wouldn't let us listen to it till it was out of the first trimester.
Yeah.
But the lady that we had doing the ultrasound, she has a bad bedside manner.
Mm-hmm.
So we heard it, and it was just like, and we pushed that away.
Oh, okay.
So we didn't get to dwell on it at all. We didn't really get to focus on it at all.
Yeah.
So I was kind of upset by that, and so was Christy. We actually talked about that after the fact, how it was like, oh, we did do that. You know? But like in the moment of hearing it, it was. Yeah, amazing.
I've heard some of those different stories off and on from some different friends about kind of that bedside manner, excuse me. And, Samantha, she was lucky that she had the same OBGYN for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And had that good rapport with her. But it's not uncommon, and maybe it's something you might just think about as a conversation with your significant other or wife, is that it doesn't hurt to shop around, because that's a really personal experience. Obviously, the person's going to deliver a baby, and just because you've been going to someone for so long doesn't mean you have to stick with them.
Yeah.
This is about you, and it's important to remember that it's all about you.
Yeah. So Christy's OB, or normal OB, handed her off to a lady that actually does the deliveries in her practice, and Christy loves this lady.
Yeah,
just loves her. which makes me happy because that's obviously something I worried about. It's like, is she going to like this lady?
Yeah.
Because it is pretty important. She's going to become a major part of our lives for the next 7 months or so.
Yeah.
6 months at this point. So, but was it the OB that did your ultrasound, or was it a tech?
No, it was the OB that did the
Really?
ultrasound as well. Yeah.
Ours was a tech.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
maybe that was part of it. I don't know. I would have rather our OB be the one that was doing it.
Yeah, she was there.
So.
Start to finish through the entire process. There was one tech that did the blood work type of stuff. But,
Yeah.
Everything else, including the ultrasounds, she was there for that. We'll talk about it because we had a surprise announcement. We didn't want to know the gender of the baby, and so we wanted to have like a reveal party. But unfortunately, the OB made one comment that I'll talk about in another video that led me to believe what the baby would be, and ultimately I was right. It could have just been a coincidence, but no, she was really good.
We actually just paid to have some blood tests done to find out the sex of the baby earlier than the 20-week ultrasound. We did this because it kind of wraps in like a bunch of the does a lot of blood tests as well.
Yeah.
Things that if they were positive for these different types of anomalies,
yeah,
we would basically not have to do more invasive procedures.
Mm-hmm.
So it was cheaper than we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
But so it kind of sit right in that point where I was like, I'm comfortable with this, and I need to know now.
Yeah.
So we're going to find out, and then we're going to keep it from everybody else.
Yeah.
So that's how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
So that was actually one of our big discussions was, are we going to know, or are we going to have somebody else know?
Yeah.
And then tell us, kind of. So we chose to know, and then we're going to surprise everybody else. So
yeah.
you're not going to know.
I'm looking forward to it to find out. Yeah. So that's something we'll talk about in our next video. I guess we'll talk a little bit about maybe some of the experience with the second trimester as John gets caught up in that area. Then I can shed some light on that. But
we're going to finish up that first trimester as well. I think we still have a few things that we're going to talk about, on our next video. So.
Yep. So we appreciate you guys sticking around and checking this out, and we've got a lot of story to share. Just a lot of things that we haven't even covered that took place before the first trimester and during. So please stay tuned and check out the next set of videos that get up there.
Yeah. And to piggyback on that, like just to talk about, we are going to have a few more people come on, a few guys that have had kids. So we'll definitely have some other points of views and a few more stories. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and then keep posted on what we're doing. We'll put out videos as much as we possibly can. I think we're looking at like 1 or so a week, so something like that. So,
yep.
We'll see y'all.
All right, take care.
Take care.